Let's go, let's go. How's everybody doing today? Let's go do a little mic check. Everything's looking good on my end right now. How is everybody doing? We gotta we gotta do a little celebration. Dougie Fresh got fired. What a good day. What a good day, everybody. We told this fucker we would get after him a while ago. Dougie Fresh, I remember it was a couple years ago, one of the iron workers, they didn't file the lawsuit yet, but they saw me and Doug Cifu arguing on Twitter and me calling him a criminal and everything. Man, I'm still feeling good about AMC. I mean, if you look at the box office, here, let's pull it up. I mean, if you look at the box office, everything's looking great, man. Hold on, let me pull this over here. We're at 1.223 billion. Let's see what this counts. I don't know if this counts Sunday. So over the weekend, we had another $100 million weekend. I know Naked Gun came out. I gotta go see that. I'm gonna go see that either tonight or tomorrow. I really want to go see that. But I mean, I feel like we're gonna still have another 2.5 billion dollar quarter. We're feeling great. Q4 is supposed to be the best one out of all year. Q4 should kill it going into 2026. Like we showed you guys, and then more and more and more films have also been coming out in 2026. 2026 on AMC is when you're going to start to see profits again. You're going to start to see, like I said, I see 2026 hitting 3 billion for the first time. There are plenty of quarters with an insane amount of movies. And they could easily have a $3 billion quarter in 2026. So, also, I mean, Avatar, tons of things coming out later on this year. Like I said, the cash flow positive, he said, the rest of the year, so we're feeling good about that. I still think he's going to ask for those shares. And like I said, guys, either we're going to give it to him, or they're going to want higher percentage now on those bonds. So AMC is going to have to pay a little bit more each month to get back to more profitability. So I still think we give him the shares. Just because you give him shares doesn't mean he needs to execute them. And on top of that, if he gets shares, he can finally wait. Now he's at a point where he can finally wait, where the box office is finally back. So, like I said, I still feel great about AMC. I still feel really good about it, but let's get back to Dougie Fresh. So Dougie Fresh a while back was talking about, like I said, he was talking a lot of shit. One of those people in the lawsuit saw me calling him criminal, and always, him always fighting with me and stuff. So that was pretty cool. He DM'd me and he said, "Hey, we're thinking about pursuing a lawsuit with this guy," and he showed me some things that they were doing, or that he was doing, and I was like, I called him out on being a criminal right away. I'm like, well, you're a criminal. You're in this lawsuit, and then also around the grapevine at that time, a couple other people, messaged me and said that he was going to get a notice from the SEC, and he did, and he got in trouble for that, a Wells notice. So right after that, I was making fun of that. I was like, don't worry about you having that coming up, and your lawsuit that's about to come up, and both came up, and looks like he was about to lose them. So they went ahead and made him retire. Now, Doug would have not retired. Dougie, let's be real, Dougie got fired. Exactly what we wanted. Now, one of the things is, I know another guy's going to come in and take a seat, but Doug was such a douchebag. And one of the things you got to do is you got to get him out of the system before we can take the individual down. So what I always told Doug, we're going to come after your company, and after we come after your company, we're going to go ahead and take your team away. So, suspended Florida Panthers minority owner Doug Cifu's name not engraved on the Stanley Cup. He's currently suspended. They're going to have a meeting whether they're going to remove him or not from the team completely, and it looks like they're going to take his team away. Now, once you get him out of the system completely, that's when others can now go after Doug. And I always told Doug one day, I said, you're nothing but a bottom, and one day you're going to go to jail for all this stuff, and you're going to lose everything slowly. And then after you start losing it, one by one, they're going to come after you, and they're going to turn on you. So hopefully that's the next part to come, is hopefully Dougie Fresh shall be in prison soon. And right where he belongs. Right where his little liquidity fairy ass belongs. One thing at a time, my friends. One thing at a time. But we got Dougie Fresh out of here. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Like I said, it could have happened to more of a douchebag person. I mean, just steal from people and just be that arrogant and asshole about it. And just said, it couldn't have happened to a better person. But if you didn't hear, this is Dougie's. Doug was so proud. This is my, more than us getting him fired. This right here, I'm more happy about, because I think him getting fired, it hurt him a little bit, but he also didn't. It wasn't. He'd be like, all right, whatever, I'll bounce back. But him losing his team and not getting his name on the Stanley Cup, I know this kills him. I know this thing kills him. Oh, this definitely kills Dougie fresh. Now Citadel, though, I want to give everybody a little, update on Citadel, because there's some things going on in the market that are actually really good for us, and Citadel's crying about it because it could actually fuck Citadel up pretty bad. So they're going into these tokenized assets. And at first, I'm still not fully with these tokenized assets, because who's ever in charge of the blockchain, as I've shown you with tons and tons of different ways, they can still edit the blockchain. So whoever's in charge of the blockchain, and it's going to be criminals. It's always going to be more criminal banks or something like that. So they're going to be charged with the blockchain. But what this does now is Citadel is crying because they can't manipulate shares that are tokenized. When you go ahead and buy these shares through the tokenization, they're instant settlement, and they're going to be on a blockchain. Well, how the hell can Citadel get around anything if it's instant settlement and it's on a blockchain? They can't. They can't do the manipulation. They can't do all this crap. So what Citadel is crying about is more people are going to go there because it's instant settlement. So they'll have their asset right away, and it's fair advantage. This is my favorite part I want you guys to listen to right here before we get into the other things. He says, this isn't fair to market integrity. The SEC needs to realize that this is against market integrity. And what does he say market integrity is? The integrity of the market is when me and 7 other people can control the prices at will. That's integrity of the market. Now he's against it because he says, well, these tokenized assets are going to fuck up everything we have. These tokenized assets are going to screw up this monopoly we have because it offers a service no one of us else can have. None of us else offer instant done. Instant on a blockchain. So he thinks that, so now he's whining about market integrity. He says that tokenized without clearing rate could create unfair advantages for certain platforms and potentially drain liquidity from traditional markets. Great, because we know what liquidity means is Citadel and Virtue creating IOUs and calling it liquidity. So in other words, if we go ahead and get these tokenized assets in, we can't fucking make IOUs. We can't manipulate it because we can't fuck up the blockchain. So we gotta have our shares on time before we can deliver them. Holy fuck. You mean that's how it should have been in the first time? And Citadel would have never existed? Citadel's crying because it's starting to realize if it doesn't get involved in tokenization, they're gonna be fucking, their method's obsolete because no one's gonna go to them. They're going to lose a shit ton of traffic. A shit ton of traffic. Hopefully all traffic. Hopefully all retail gets the fuck out of Citadel. I've been trying to get people to direct route their shares forever. I don't care what platform you use. Just direct route it. If you direct route your shares, it takes it out of Citadel's hands. That takes money out of your competitor. That's all you've ever wanted to do since the beginning. Every time you don't direct route, you make Citadel money. So Citadel's over here crying now because we have tokenization to assets, and like he said, it's something that could literally, if Citadel doesn't adapt, it will kill their entire business. But what is Citadel going to do at this point? They're going to, what, they're going to create their own blockchain now? Try and get involved like that? Or are they going to go ahead and try and now invest in the new blockchain company like they tried to do with T0, but T0 is a piece of shit company, as I showed you, and a fraud and a scam. So we went ahead and made sure nobody went ahead and did that. But it's the same thing. If Citadel looks over and realizes if this new technology takes over, Citadel's gone. Citadel's going to be one of those things where it's like, well, you could go on their old technology. They'll be one of those super, like I said, there'll be super small amount of traffic going that way, especially with businesses. Especially with businesses. So, just so everybody is aware, these tokenizations, these tokenized assets, like I said, Citadel's trying to sue them. They want these guys to just stay away from him because you're gonna fuck up all of our liquidity and all of our cheating. People are like I said, this is something that could actually fuck Citadel up, which is more great news for us. So, just so everybody is aware that these tokenizations, I used to be against them because, like I said, I know the banks are in control of them, and I know that the banks can edit them. But if Citadel is this worried about it, I mean, they literally cried about it. You guys, if you want to read about it, here you go. Go ahead and read this. This is their post. This is Citadel crying about it. This is how it talks about how you're going to take away liquidity because things have to be instantly done. It means that they can't sit there and push shit around, create IOUs. It gets around exemptions because there's no need for an exemption. There's no exemptions with these. Not that I've seen. I've looked into a lot of these. I don't see any of these exemptions with like shorts or anything like that, or like where hey, here's an exemption where you don't have to deliver because it's on a blockchain. There is no exemption to create, and that's something that scares the shit out of Citadel. That is something that, like I said, I don't just take my word for this. You guys read this. It's only 6 pages, but it's 6 pages of read these. It is market stability, transparency. You guys are going to fuck up our transparency. You guys are going to fuck up the market stability and our ability to give up IOUs. Guys, you're going to stop having people come to us and they're going to go away from us. And if you get too much flow away from us cheaters, we're going to fucking collapse. It's a ton of them admitting, well, we're going to lose fees. All these fees are going to go away and we're going to get fucked up. Good. Fuck you. And on top of that, they're also, well, it's going to really fuck us up because new IPOs and new people coming into the market are going to want to go straight to this instead of us giving to them so we can instantly fuck up their company, instantly fuck up their share price. They're going to go and get it blockchained with you guys. And then their IPOs won't come through us, it'll go through you, and that will really fuck up our money. That will really fuck up our ability to short and distort people, because now we'll be in the hands of our fucking competitors. So Citadel's over here freaking out. I really want you guys to read this. It also talks about how it's going to fuck up margin frameworks because it's going to drastically change margin spreads. And Citadel's not going to know if they're going to be able to make enough on the margin spreads because they're going to tighten the margin spreads. It's really good stuff, you guys. It's really good stuff. Now, let's talk about the economy real quick because I want everybody to show somebody this. Like I said, this isn't Democrat. I'm not going to mention Trump. I'm not going to mention Biden. I don't care. They're all the same. I fell for Trump stuff for a second, and then I woke back up. On some stuff. But let's just talk about the economy as a whole. I'm going back to my old ways. I'm going back to just... Here's the thing. I got into I voted Trump and I felt betrayed because a lot of the things I thought he was going to fix, he didn't, and that's fine. So I'm going to get away from that and that emotional side, and I'm just going to do what I did before. When Biden was in charge, I just talked about how shitty the economy is and things that are fucking it up, and that's what I'm going to get back to. So this is not anything to do political anymore. I'm done with that shit. I'm completely done with that. I'm going back to my old ways. Now, let's talk about the system. Because if I tell you about the system, again, guys, you can get the fuck out of the system and benefit off of the system and the corruption. And not do it in an illegal, cheating way. Because we can still be decent people. We don't have to fucking turn into them. But when you understand the system, you can understand little small ways where you can at least benefit enough to where you're not struggling. Woke is dead, dude. Here's the thing. In all honesty, I mean... It's dead. Everything's getting back to normalized. But like, dude, and I'm glad. I'm like I said, I'm not gonna get into political, but Jesus Christ, I don't know what Harris would have done. I saw her the other day, and Jesus. But we're not getting back into that. Let's get out of that shit. So back to debt. Now, when you look at the system and fiat currency, I want people to understand what they're doing. They're blaming Powell right now, and I'm gonna explain to you why Powell, he is a piece of shit. He needs to go, and so does the Federal Reserve. But the one thing he's doing that's correct right now is not raising rates. And I'm going to show you a lot of stuff that's really going on. So if you guys look right now at the world debt. The world debt just passed $324 trillion. When we last talked it was a month ago. When we last talked a month ago, it was at 308. So in a month, listen to me, so in 1 month, they added $16 trillion to the national debt, or to the world debt. In 1 month, they added that much. So, this is why I tell people, I used to tell everybody, get into gold, get into gold, get into gold. And I still feel like gold is a safe haven. Gold is, to me, I know it's expensive now, so a lot of people can't afford, a gold coin or two. But, you can get smaller value gold coins. But, to me, gold's going to continue to rise because eventually, this is the number one question everyone asks me. What happens when all these fiat currencies start to, lowering rates? What happens when all these fiat currencies start to go under? Because there's going to be a moment where they're either going to collapse or societies around the world are going to start to revolt because they can't afford anything. A piece of bread, they can't afford nothing. And on top of that, that piece of bread that they're getting is now, it's not even bread anymore. It's 99% cost-effective preservatives. Even the bread at this point. If you take a piece of bread and mush it up, look at the ingredients on. Go to a bakery, fresh, and look at those bread. Look at the ingredients, and then go to a store, grab a piece of bread, and whatever bread you like, and then flip the ingredients over. Look at how many extra things are. Grab a piece of bread from that bakery and crush it up. See what happens. Then grab that other piece of bread you buy from the store and crush it and see what happens. And watch it unfold back into the perfect piece of bread in like 15 minutes. It's ridiculous, dude. But here you go. The world debt right now is sitting at $324 trillion. They're still printing. Inflation's still going up. If you guys just saw the report, inflation is now back to 2.8%. Inflation is now back to 2.8%, and that's not including the tariff taxes that are now about to kick in as well. And we're going to explain tariffs to people, because I don't think people understand what tariffs are. So we're going to explain what they are, and then make your judgment on them, because I want people to stop cheering on a tax that's not going to the proper use. So, back to this. Powell, everybody's screaming to fire Powell, and we'll get into why Powell needs to be fired later. But right now, inflation's already back up to 2.8%. If Powell lowers rates, inflation's going to jump back up. It's going to be back into the 3.5%. People already can't afford it now. And on top of that, you're going to add tariff taxes to those. Now, we'll get into the only way to start fixing this right now, and this is the thing. Trump continuously blames Powell and says the only way to fix this is if the Feds lower rates. But when the Feds lower rates, it mainly lowers Treasury rates. What you need the demand. Here's the thing that he doesn't understand. If you lower the rates, you have less demand. Our government can't stop spending. Before I keep going on, you guys have to see this. This blew my absolute mind, dude. Where is it? Okay, here. I'll just go back. I want you guys to look at this. So, when July started, okay? When July started, look at our national debt. The national debt was 36,211,469,000,000, blah blah blah. The national debt was, if you look at it today, so from July 1st to July 31st, so in 30 days, look at that. In 30 days, our national debt rose $600 billion in 1 month. Because they took the restrictions off. And now our government is back to spending like it's never spent before. I told people he's going to hit that $5 trillion debt by the end of the year, if not by the end of next year. And he's still going to have 2 years. He's going to either ask for another debt ceiling raise. Like I said, it's getting to the point. And then what he's going to say is, I needed more money because the Biden economy was so fucked up that wasn't enough to fix it. We need some more to fix it, and then we'll be back roaring, and everything will be great again. That's exactly what he's going to say. But the fact that we spent 600 billion or added 600 billion to the debt, well, we're going to need demand for this type of stuff. You're going to need people. Here's the thing. When you add to this debt, it makes it riskier. So when people sit there and go, all right, you're making the debt riskier, I want more interest rates. If you come out and say, hey, on these overnights and things like that, we're actually going to lower it, your demand's going to go way down, but your spending is still there. You can't spend what you don't bring in. Like I said, this guy's out of control. That's an insane amount of spending. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, anything. $600 billion in 1 month is unbelievable. That's unheard of. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I mean, holy crap. That's insane in 1 month. Now, here's the problem. During this same month, he's out here bragging how he brought in $150 billion in tariff money. Now, here's my question. If you brought in an extra $150 billion, and in that same time period, you added $600 billion to the debt, number one, what are we celebrating? Number two, where did that $150 billion go? Where did you go? It didn't go to the debt, obviously. It didn't go to spending what we didn't, here, take this extra money and spend it instead of adding to the debt. You took $150 billion extra dollars in tariff money from citizens. Because if you guys haven't seen every article, Charmin raised their prices due to tariff. Ford raised their prices due to tariff. Nintendo raised it. You can go on and on and on. They've all raised their prices due to tariffs. And this is the one thing I never understood. He told everybody, and I said that this wasn't going to work right away. He told everybody, these companies are going to have to eat the profits, and they're just going to have to eat the extra income. And if they don't want to eat the extra income, they're going to have to move their factories back here. And we'll stop giving you the tariffs and all this stuff. But the problem is, hold on 1 second here. My mom's got my kid, and she just texted me. I gotta make sure he's okay. Sorry, I always panic when I don't have my kid, and I always think something's wrong. But about the tariff. So the problem is when you tell these companies, if you come back here and do factoring here, you won't have to pay these tariffs. They all just sat there and said, or we can just charge more. We can make the consumer eat the price. I'm not going to get less. And then you know what else they did? They fired workers. Now I want you guys to look at this. Listen to this. This is insane. U.S. job cuts reached 806,000 so far in 2025. U.S. job cuts have had the most job cuts since COVID started, which obviously COVID shut down how many companies got shut down because of COVID. When you have more job cuts than you did from fucking COVID, what are we doing here? That to me is an emergency. The things that these people find, our government officials find emergencies, the things that they don't find as a problem, blows my mind. Because at the same exact time, what happened? Payroll. 73,000 jobs were created. Only 73,000. In the month of July, you had more job cuts than you had job creations. In the United States, we had more job losses than we had job creations. Prices are going up, and inflation's back to 2.8%. Now, if you guys look back at this, the other problem is he kept on talking about manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs are going to come back. Friday, I don't know if this is point or not. Friday, the labor report arrived, talked about 73,000 jobs when they thought it was going to be 150. So basically, it was half of what they expected. Then he fires the girl, says that, Biden put her there, she can't do her job. You know what? I've seen so many revisions out of that department that were so off. I don't disagree with them. I mean, Jesus, how are these revisions? You remember we had the biggest revision in history just a couple months ago? under Biden. Like, if you guys can't figure it out by the widest of margin, at what point is enough? So I mean, there are a lot of people that say it's like this power move, but I mean, how wrong can you be for over a year? You know what I mean? So I agree with them. But at the same time, they talked about, we're going to start bringing back manufacturing jobs, and all these manufacturing jobs are going to come back. Where is it? They actually were laying off manufacturing jobs. There was actually a manufacturer, sorry, too many tabs up here. So we got a manufacturing job actually lost 26,000. So we actually, all these production manufacturing jobs are going to be coming back. And in actuality, we lost 26,000 in manufacturing jobs. Now, the 73,000 new jobs here that were created, almost 56% was in healthcare. So it's just people getting sick. And there's so many people getting sick, they need to put more staff on. It's just healthcare getting more and more rampant. Because more people are getting sick because they're eating shittier food. People are poor and they're not going into the doctors because even with insurance they can't afford to go into the doctors. So they're taking longer and longer to the point where they're just hoping they get better, but a lot of them are actually just getting worse and now they need to go into the hospital. So, if you look at I've shown you guys the last year and a half, almost 2 years, all the new job creations were basically, well, for a long time they were government, and then obviously the Doge came and stopped that, thank God. But it was mainly government and healthcare, and everything else was collapsing. So, like I said, people are sitting there yelling at people, laziness, this, that, and it's like, oh, go get a job. And then it's like, well, all the good jobs are going away. And then you guys are sitting there, well, oh man, fuck these Taco Bell workers and stuff. If we raise the minimum wage and they can make enough to eat, well, they're just lazy and they don't have to work as hard as us. Well, first of all, if you've ever worked at a fast food restaurant, they're pretty fucking ridiculous sometimes. A lot of 90% of the time, you're always doing something, man. So, you raise their wages, guess what? You raise all of yours. All those good jobs. But they're not out there. And then when you guys drive around, well, I see all these signs for hiring in my area. Yeah, you see it at what? Valvoline for $16.50. You see it up at your gas stations. You see it up at what? The Taco Bells and stuff that you want people not to be able to make a wage at. You see what I mean? They got people going, if you raise minimum wage for these lower people, they have to fire everybody. They're already firing everybody. They're already firing everyone. They don't care. They need their max profit. They're just firing everyone anyways. So at least the people that are still there should make a decent wage. They're going to end up rehiring. Remember, trickle down economics. Their fake system that they convinced people was going to... Think about how stupid this is. If we give rich people money, it'll trickle down to poor people. Tell me how. Because when I see a rich person get money, they just put it in a bank account, or they buy a third island, or they buy a fucking fifth yacht, or they buy a football team. How the fuck does them buying a football team benefit the small people? How does it trickle down to them? At any point when you give a rich person, when does it trickle to them? Well, they create jobs. No, they don't. They just say, I could take more. I could take fucking more. And I can fire more of these people. It's, like I said, I don't give a shit about Democrats, Republicans anymore. You guys gotta wake up. It's us versus them. It's us versus them. This year was the first year the 1% have more assets and money than the 99%. And that should have been the biggest wake-up call that the system no longer works. If 500 fucking people have more than 340 million, the system has failed. It's failed. Any way you want to spin it, if 500 people have more than 340 million, it's failed. I said, tariffs are just additional taxes. What people don't understand. And here's the thing that I don't get it. Like I said, a lot of Republicans are cheering on these tariffs that aren't, as I showed you, they're not even paying off the debt. He told everybody he was going to take these tariffs and he was going to pay down debt with it. And that was going to pay off the national debt. And I just showed you he took $150 billion, and in the same month he added he added $600 billion to the debt. Obviously, that's not how it's going to work. What did he do with the $150 billion? I'll tell you what he did with the $150 billion. He opened up new government contracts, and he gave them to his rich friends. That's what he did with it. There's expense reports out there. You can go see where they went with it. Not a single... He tells everybody, I'm going to give you guys $5,000 checks. Now it's $600 checks. And now there's no mention of anything. Because there's not going to come anything. What they're going to do is take more tariff money, and then down the line they might give it to you guys. But what they're going to do is with the first $150 billion they collected, they're going to open up new contracts with their rich friends and get kickbacks and get their bribes, and that's what politicians do. They get rich. They got to get their money first. Maybe they'll get their money twice, and then on the third try they'll give us. But here's my point. We've went over this before. He says to everybody, we went over this with COVID. We experienced this with COVID. We're going to give you guys $1,600 checks. Now it's, hey, you guys, just to give you something, we're going to give you $500 checks or whatever the hell, $800 checks, whatever the fuck he said. I don't even pay attention to it anymore. I don't care. We're going to give you a crumb after we just took $150 billion from you guys in taxes. We call it tariff taxes because, again, we've shown you guys the companies are passing it down to you guys. They're not eating the taxes. You are. The prices are just up. Oh, and guess what? Inflation's back. So now you're going to have tariff taxes, and then inflation will be over 3% next month. Good job. Wonder why no one can afford to fucking eat anything. Because if you add the tariffs on top of the 3% fucking inflation, you're talking mainly like having a 7% inflation boost in one quarter. Huh. And you already have a society that's broke. So like I said, what's he doing with that $150 billion? He's giving it to his buddies. He calls it a tariff tax. People don't understand. He calls it a tariff. He leaves the tax out. He calls it a tariff. Oh, these companies... Tell me why. Here's my question to you. Let me ask you one thing. Whether you're a Republic, whatever. Let me ask you one question. Maybe this will make you wake up a little bit. Or you can answer this. You don't even need to type it. Answer it in your head. He says, I'm going to give these guys taxes, and then they're going to come back, which I'm showing you they're not coming back. What they're doing, I'm going to tell you what they're doing right now first, before I ask my question. What they're doing right now is they're saying, all right, is it cost effective for me to go build a factory in another place with a smaller percent of tariff? That's where they're going. They're not going to come back to the United States. They're going, if I go over to Indonesia now and I pay, 10% less on my tariffs, but now I'm paying Indonesians 55 cents, can I still make up that difference and stay rich and not go back to the U.S. and then pay United States worker wages? Because in the end of the day, what makes more sense? Now, here's back to my question. If you are a company, let's say you're a CEO right now. Let's say you are a manager. Let's just say you're running a company, okay? And, he says they're going to eat these prices and it's going to make them come back. Now, if I'm the owner of a company and you look at the United States, 80% of our shit is imported now at this point? How much shit is produced in the United States? Barely anything. It's all fucking imported. All the super monopoly companies, all the big monopoly companies, guess what they do? They import and do slave labor in other places around the world. They all do it. All of them. So now, the biggest name people, the people with the most shelf space, you know what they do? We're just going to make them eat the fucking tariff costs. We're just going to raise our prices. Because what law is stopping me from doing that? Nothing, because what do they do? Just like every other expense. Think about this. Let me show you this. Just like any other expense that they have to write down. Hey, I have to buy this. I need to buy this. Any other expense. I have to pay this bill. That's now a new expense to their book. So they're going to say, I have a new expense here, and now to make my profit margin here, I need to raise my costs here. That's just business economics 101. That's just common sense. You need to do that for your company or you will go under. Now here's the problem. All of these big guys are jacking the prices up. Okay? So all these mom and pop shops, they got to jack the prices up. Or they're just, like I said, it's just to the point where it's like I said, it's even if they don't want to, they got to now push it up, even $1.02. Now it's like, well, now how much more different are they? That's the problem. Like I said, tariffs worked when we weren't already at the end game of capitalism. They might have worked before, but now they're not because these guys are monopolies. They're already above tariffs. They don't give a fuck. They'll just go to the next country that they can pay less in. Or they might just say, fuck it. Like the other guys have said, you know what? It would cost me too much money to go over and build a factory. The 10% tariff difference isn't any different. I'll just raise the price in America. Instead of paying the 10% difference in moving my factory, I'll just raise the price in America $1.50. Fuck them. I can lodge. If the government comes at me, I could say, what is an expense? Like I said, there's no rule in place that said, there was nothing in place that said these companies would eat the difference. None of them. Nothing. And if you're a CEO of a company, like I said, here's my question to you. Why would you eat the profits just because Trump said so? You're not gonna. You want a yacht too. You only have 4 yachts in your backyard. You need number 5. If you eat your profits, how are you going to fucking afford that 5th yacht? You're not going to do that. You're going to say fuck it, and you're going to make us pay it. And that's exactly what's happening. I said these taxes, these tariffs, it's another form of tax. But if Biden would have came out and said, all right, I'm raising taxes X%, that would equal the same thing, everybody would have been fucking nuts. Like I said, it's one thing if he was going to take these tariff taxes and put them right to the fucking debt. Here's the other thing. They make a fucking Venmo account where we can pay the national debt. Now let me ask you a question. Knowing that we raised the debt $600 billion in 1 month, who the fuck would Venmo $5,000 to this? Why would you ever Venmo anything to this? Before your Venmo even processed, they spent it on giving it to another rich friend. You're at your end game when you're asking citizens who are already broke to donate to the national debt. Are you fucking kidding me? That's ridiculous. It's insane, man. I said this. What's happening in this economy is going to get real, real bad. And then on top of that, like we went over before, though. So they're going to give you guys a $600, $800 check. But guess what? They've already printed off a whole bunch of money. Their friends already bought these assets, right? So now their buddies got that money first. It's as we went over with the Cantillon effect. So they printed money. The Ultramont people got all this money. Guess what? Instead of printing money, they got all this new money from you. Instead of printing money, they called it tax money. So now they took the tax money, they gave it to new contracts and all their buddies, so now the ultra-rich got all this new money. All this new money. Plantier just got a $10 billion new contract for the next 10 years with your tariff money. Yay. And guess who has Plantier stock? All of our government officials are in Plantier stock. They all just made money today. So, they take all of your tax money, don't put it to the fucking debt, put it to new contracts for the ultra wealthy. Then the ultra wealthy buy up assets. Then they give some money by buying these assets. They give it to the entrepreneurial class. So now the entrepreneurial class gets new money. And then what they say is, all right, we're going to give you guys $800 checks. But guess what? Now you inflated money by giving a little bit of that back. Well, what that means is this $800 check, by the time you get it, these guys have bought up so much assets. Your $800 check is like a $500 check, and that extra $300 went to all of these rich people who don't need it because now their asset value went up $300 more bucks. So not only do they get the new money contracts, they get more money when they give it to you guys because their asset value. Oh, you guys all got more money. We got to raise the everything's value went up because you guys got $700 fucking dollars that was gone in 5 fucking minutes because one of you guys paid a car bill. You guys paid a credit card off. The whole fucking economy's safe now. But since you guys got to maybe pay one bill, We get 500 fucking billion, 120 of your $1 billion. It's fair. Who cares if our assets also go up a little bit before you get that money? Fuck it. It's fair. Like I said, what is happening in this country blows my mind. And then the people in charge of money, the private entity called the Federal Reserve. Look at this. The Federal Reserve currently hold unrealized losses on its bonds of $1.6 trillion. The Federal Reserve have unrealized losses of $1 trillion. Think about that. What? They should have lost $1 trillion, and instead of losing it, they make up some fucking new bullshit category to bail these guys out, give them some exemptions, and call it unrealized losses. Well, we have unrealized losses of a fucking $1 trillion. Okay, so now to make it even better, on top of that, they owe the Treasury $240 billion. So now, with their unrealized losses and with their IOUs at the fucking Treasury, you're now at 1.8 or 1.28 fucking trillion dollars. So almost 1.3 trillion dollars in the hole, or are losing. And on top of that, these fucking assholes are paying $470 million on interest a day to foreign fucking countries. Because they're who are holding their bonds. So we're paying other countries $470 million a day because they don't want to fix their fucking debt problem. And on top of that, the same fuckers who are in charge of currency, look at this. The US dollar has lost 30% of its purchasing power since 2020. Why? Because of what I just showed you. In 2020, they printed $16 fucking trillion. The Cantillon effect went into effect. Instead of giving it to us and proper people, they gave millions of dollars to rich people. Then they gave you a $1,600 inflated check, which really came out to be maybe $1,000. Because all the fucking rich people got all this money, but all this shit, and then on top of that, you had hundreds of billions in frauds and scams, and you know every fucking time it's the same people doing the frauds and scams. So they're getting just richer and richer and richer, and at the same time, our dollar is losing value. Now I want you to understand something, because this is really important for you to understand. I want you to listen. If this is the only thing you ever take from my channel out of an economic stance, this is it. If you have money in an account right now at a bank, you are making 0.00% on your interest rate. Okay, you've lost 30% on your purchasing power. Already on that money that's inside of that. Now on top of that, inflation is 2.8%. You're making under 1%, and inflation is at 2.8%. So while you're putting money in what they call a savings account, inflation is taking over, and it's making that money lose value faster than you're gaining interest. Okay? Now, rich people don't do that. They did what I told you guys to do, and this changed my life. I got in, like I told everybody. I used to sit there and I'd have a couple thousand in the bank all the time. I'd have like 6, 7, 8, 10, thousand in the bank just in case of emergency funds. Nope. I have like $3,000 to always pay bills. I always put about $3,000 in there, and then I started a money market fund account. I get gold. I buy silver. I put a whole bunch into my stock. I've been buying a whole bunch in just S&P. Everybody sits there. If people sat there, I want you guys to understand this. I want you to listen to this because it's insanely important. If people didn't have a 401k and over the last 10 years would have put all of that money in the S&P, you would have been making 20%, 22% around over those 10 years on your money. You would have all been millionaires. You would have all been millionaires if you only, at the entire time, everything you put into that 401k, you would have only put it into the S&P. But they don't want anyone to manage their own money. The S&P always outperforms everybody. Every year. Every investment firm. They kick the shit. It kicks the shit out of them. It's not even close. Citadel had like 8% returns. Ooh, they're all way below the S&P every fucking year. Because they're too busy worrying about stealing your money than really investing it. like I said, if you have money just sitting in the bank, you're losing its value by deflation, inflation alone. And on top of that, the risk factor with the confidence in the value of the dollar, BRICS, other people getting more and more away from the dollar, the value of the how much shittier the economy is gaining or getting every single month. Like I said, the value of the dollar is going down. So if you're just sitting in a bank, you're not gaining a savings, and that's why you can't get ahead. I want you to understand, it's not you. It's a system that tells you to put your money in a savings account, in a checking account. And you have for how many years? And that checking account does not pay, it's never paid for what it's costed you in inflation. So inflation, again, it's just taking generational wealth away from us. Because the system tells you to put it in a shitty bank like JP Morgan Chase, when you should have had it in a credit union, because at least a credit union this entire time would have always paid you more percentage than inflation, and you actually could have saved it if you wanted to just sit in a bank, if that's where you felt comfortable, instead of getting gold. I showed you guys, like I said, getting all that gold, buying all those gold coins when it was at 1700. That was my biggest investment I've done. That was the smartest thing I did. Like asset wise, I'm talking. I mean, we've done a lot of really good stock plays. And that's, like I said, that's the other thing. They tell people, here's the thing. And this is what everybody, I don't do YouTube like I used to, and I'm not around doing as much as I used to, because I could finally definitely, I have my son, he's 1, and I'm spending as much possible time as I can with him. And any parent who could fault me, if you had the ability to, you all would do it too. And I feel like I'm trying to teach people to not just go on people's channel and watch them do TA, but learn it, you guys. Learn it. It does work. Learn indicators, learn patterns. There are things that do work. Watch the news. There are things that do work. Watch congressmen. I've shown you guys these accounts. Now, speaking of congressmen, we're going to get into them in a second. But if you're not following this account on Twitter, please start to follow this account. This has nothing to do with me promoting an account. I don't care about, I don't know this person. I have no affiliation with this person. But what this account does is it always tells you unusual stocks that these guys get the second it's released. And I have shown you guys, and I promise you, I am making a living literally just watching these guys fucking trades. I'm telling you. These guys are never wrong. These guys are never wrong. Yeah, you might not get in. Yeah, don't write it to fucking mass numbers. But the second you get in, trust me, your returns are always good. You're always going to be pretty green at some point, and just take it. Just take it. Don't. God, the number one thing, you guys, the number one thing everybody does wrong when I watch these when people trade, everything's got to be $1,000 win. Everything's got to be 15, 2,000. No, if you win a couple $100, it's okay to take it. Put it into a new play. You could do it that day. You get a certain amount of day trades, but and depending on how big your account is, you don't care if you're a day trader. But I watch so many people. And even in my Discord, too, I've watched so many people let a green go red. Green go red. Build a base. Just build your base. Wins are wins. $150 on a trade. Even, $150, that's how much hours of work. Just like boom. Just like that. It's okay to do, maybe you make $1,000 in a week. How many people couldn't make it, $1,500 in a month extra on the side? It's okay to do stuff like that. Eventually, you'll hit a big one if you learn to keep playing the smaller ones. And it's all about the hardest thing in trading is winning and taking it and just taking it. I promise. Once you learn to just every little thing, trust me, it adds up. It always adds up. But I'm telling you, this account, look at this. Every single time, dude. I'm telling you, every single time. Don't think that. I'm telling you. These guys, the top 5 follow Nancy Pelosi. I'm telling you, they will post every trade. They tell you the ones that stand out. Hey, guys, these guys bought a whole bunch of stocks, but the one thing I want you to notice is they bought this stock right here. And I'm telling you, this has changed my life. I'm telling you. Politicians don't miss. This guy bought this stock, and he's on this committee. So he's going to be voting on this. Just so you guys know. Hey, this guy works in this field. He's a politician, but he also he works in the, works in this field a lot. He works with military. And he bought a military thing. And guess what? A month later, a military fucking contract comes out. Crazy. You know what I mean? I'm telling you. Politicians are corrupt. And here's my proof. Listen to this guy. So when they talk about... here it is. Here he is anyways. So when they...
How many of you don't want to make money? Anybody want to be poor? I don't. Right? So this idea that we're going to attack people because they make money is wrong. Is absolutely wrong. We should cherish all of our different backgrounds. Every one of us has a different background. I've got a business background. But what I was just accused of is making money, and somehow I can't be fair and do things the right way. So I think it's disgusting what is going on here. So, but
that's how they think. I want you to understand. That's how these fucking people think. What's wrong? Who cares if who wants to be poor? None of us. Apparently, we all want to be poor. We all want to be poor more than he does, so it's okay.
I want to be rich.
No, wouldn't that be sweet? We all want to be poorer than him, so that's our problem. So it's okay because he doesn't want to be as poor as you guys. So he's allowed to make money. Think about what he just said. What, I'm getting attacked because we're politicians insider trading? It's not illegal. Now listen to Nancy Pelosi. Senator Ron Johnson is voting against the proposal. We make it very unattractive for people to run to office if they can't insider trade, if they can't cheat. Anytime these guys insider trade, that means that they're stealing from you guys. They're not stealing from corporations. They're stealing from retail investors. Retail investors that are betting against this. Retail investors that are voting one way or the other against the upcoming proposal because we don't have the information that they have. They're taking it against you. And the politician's going, I don't get why these guys are pissed off because I can rig the deck. And then these dumbasses these guys, obviously, I don't want to be poor and they do. And they're wagering against the stacked deck. I control the deck. What's the problem? If I control the deck, why don't I get to vote on how they're going to vote? Duh, it's insider fucking trading. You control the deck, it's fucking cheating, and there's no market integrity if politicians can fucking do this. Now, I want you to listen to this really quick. This is really important. This guy who just said that, okay, this senator who just said that was involved in the biggest healthcare fraud scandal in the history of the United States. He's now the senator of fucking Florida. That's how instead of him going to prison, he became a senator. And as a senator, I want you to look at this. He has made $324 million in trading since he's been in Congress. I'm going to say that one more time. That guy that just bitched and said, "Well, I don't want to be poor." He has a net worth of $554 million. And he just talked about how he didn't want to be poorer than you guys. So it's okay that he stole that $554 million. He stole $324 million in office. $324 million in office. That Scott guy needs to go to prison. He needs to go to fucking prison. And I already told him he's my next Doug. I'm going to make sure he never be in politics again. My mission right now is to get that fucker out of there. That's it. I need that fucking corrupt trash out of office. I don't even live in that state, but I need to make sure that state knows you have a fraud, a fucking loser in here, a piece of complete human fucking trash, dude. $324 million he's stolen from people from insider information, and he doesn't find any fucking problem with it. I hate this guy. Rick Scott, you are a complete douchebag. To the fucking core, dude. Not to mention Pelosi's bitch ass. What? I'm not. Anything I do is nothing is illegal. I'm not insider trading. It's my husband. Oh, so here, let's listen to this dumb fucking old piece of trash.
What's your response to that? He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the stop the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted and they go to jail. But because of the confidence it instills in the American people, don't worry about this. But I have no concern about the obvious investments that have been made over time. I'm not into it. My husband is, but it isn't anything to do with anything insider.
Just to respond.
It has nothing to do with anything insider. I'm not into it. It's my husband. So you're telling me, bitch, you never sit down with this guy? And you're telling me you never have a conversation with your fucking husband? Like, you need to go to prison. Like, here's the thing. At least these fuckers are doing the trading themselves. Pelosi needs to go to prison. Pelosi's telling her husband insider information. That's literally a crime. That is the definition of a crime. You telling your husband how bills are going to pass. You're giving him insider fucking information. Pelosi needs to go to prison. But this is what our politicians do. If you don't want, if we can't commit crimes, if we can't steal from the American people, why the fuck are we politicians? It's not even an attractive fucking to run for office anymore. Huh. Wonder why. If you guys look at the net worth of all these politicians, most of them are richer than professional sports athletes. Politicians are some of the richest people on earth. And people expect rich people to come in and fight for poor and middle class. People think Donald Trump, the guy who created a crypto coin, stole hundreds of millions while having a party. And then gives it to, and then at this party he gave out tons of Trump coin to all of those donors. So basically all those donors that donated to his campaign funds got their money back. Probably, and then some. Like I said, I can go on and on about what Biden did. Like I said, if you want to, like I said, I don't care who's president. I said the same shit when he was in office. If you're going to commit a crime, I'm going to tell you the fucking crime. End of it, dude. Like I said, that's all they are. People don't understand. It's red, it's blue, they don't care. They don't give a shit about you. This is, they care about.
Anybody want to be poor? I don't.
Let me say that again.
How many of you don't want to make money? Anybody want to be poor? I don't. I don't know how many people in the audience. How many of you don't want to make money? Anybody want to be poor? I don't.
What a fucking loser. What a fucking
So this idea
loser.
that we're going to attack people because they make money is wrong.
Attacking people because they make money is wrong. Attacking people because they have insider information is wrong. No, you having $554 million after you committed the biggest healthcare tax fraud in the history of fucking life. Or not tax fraud, just healthcare fraud in the history of the United States. And not going to prison for the rest of your life. That's wrong. You becoming a senator and making an additional $324 million off insider trading. That's wrong. He just tried to justify to you guys him taking $324 million from insider trading. He just says, why are you attacking me for making $324 million? Can you believe that? It's wrong. It's wrong you're attacking me that I made $324 million. I don't want to be poor. God, I want to punch this dude. God, I want to hit that guy so many times. What a loser, dude. But like I said, Trump comes in talking about, oh, I'm going to fix this, oh, I'm going to fix that, when all the data shows you he's literally lying about everything. It's like I said, it's red or blue. It's a sheep. It's a different color cloth, but it's the same clothing. It's just a different color. And people get enamored by the color of the clothes. It's the same fucking clothes. It's us versus them. It's always been us versus them. They sit there and, oh yeah, by the way, when I was talking to you guys about banks, and I told you guys the other thing that I did was the best thing I ever did. I got a money market fund. Why? Because if you look here, the number one thing you do, what did I tell you guys? Just start following what the rich people are doing. 4 years ago, I said get fucking gold. Rich people are buying gold. Guys, any amount of money you have on the side that you're not investing, that's just chilling in just buy gold with it. And you've doubled your money now. You've literally doubled your money. You went from 1,700 to 3,400. Guys, they're running around buying land. I told you guys, buy land. If you have any money to buy land, get it, because it's going to be gone. It's getting scarce. And if you really wanted to maybe take a gamble on your land and get maybe a chance where you're going to explode and be one of the richest fuckers ever, get land outside of a town that could maybe one day become a town. And all of a sudden you own all the land that they want to make a town. It doesn't even need to be, get right in a township, in a town that you think might expand or could get expanding one day. There's things like that. There was tons of things I was showing you guys. Silver's gone up a fuck ton in the last 4 years. Then another thing I said is get into money market funds. Get into money market funds. Finally let your money grow. And what happened? All the rich people ran to money market funds because I told you guys, money market funds are now the only way that your money is actually making money. If it's sitting in a bank through inflation, you're losing money. But if you're in a money market fund, you're actually making money. You're still beating inflation. Your money and assets are actually growing, and you can build a savings that way. Now, these guys have $7.7 trillion in money market funds, and it's the biggest it's ever been. It's at an all-time high in money market fund assets. Apparently, this only goes back a little bit, but yeah, let's see if it goes back anymore. No. I'm not going to pay for their fucking services. But money market funds, as you can see, I told people to jump in there a couple years ago. They were only at like $3 trillion, and then all of a sudden they just exploded. Exploded. Because again, it's the only way to get around this, but not many people understand that, and not many people want to take the time to even listen to this. Like I said, people are looking at this and be like, yeah, whatever. Tell me one thing I've been incorrect about. All they will whine about. If you ever talk to anybody about my account, all they're going to whine about is AMC. It's literally pathetic at this point. You're going to cry about one trade I've done. So you're telling me every trader in history, Warren Buffett has never had one trade where it didn't pan out. And like I said with me, I bought AMC and I just sold on the run-up right away. I wasn't even involved in APE. I didn't even get involved in this stuff till June. So it's like, I rebought back in, I'm fine. And then I bought back in at 77 cents and I kept making it to where I was like, I was always green. I'm still technically green. My cost average, I'm feeling great on it now. I'm feeling real good on it now. Like I said, when it was 77 cents, I was fucking going hard. I was going real hard. But, like I said, man, they also cheated the shit out of you. And I'm going to prove it again. And here's one thing I wanted to show everybody. Because, before we get into the marginal debt and all this other stuff, here's phase 6. And now I can finally show you in proof, in writing, why the fuck phase 6 never worked. And I can't believe this is still in effect. And I didn't think it was. And now I know why. When phase 6 came out, they were supposed to do a whole bunch of margin reporting and swap reporting that isn't being reported. And that's what I said was going to kill everything. I go, they brought it over to Credit Suisse. And it's a proven fact. Everyone listening, it's a proven fact. We've shown you multiple times. Credit Suisse, they had to lock the fucking everything in a vault for 50 years. Remember? They banned Credit Suisse's financial report for 50 years. Then UBS took it over. UBS is so fucked up, they might have gone under, and they needed a government bailout. 2 months ago, UBS just talked about how they're still fucked up, even after the government bailout, because Credit Suisse was so large. The hidden bullshit that we're talking about, the people don't understand. The GameStop report showed you in AMC and GameStop. You were correct. And then they moved it all out into swaps. And then they moved it out of the fucking country. And I said, Phase 6 will fuck them up because Phase 6 is going to kill them. And then I found out the World Bank, the people in charge of it, are our fucking banks. So, what do our banks do? They give themselves breaks and make sure nobody gets fucked. And what have they done? This rule right here, I want you to understand something. This rule right here has been into effect for 4 years. What are we doing? Why create a rule if you are going to make an exemption of the rule for 4 years? When it came out, it was about 3 months in and everyone went crazy because Phase 6 didn't work. And then all of a sudden I showed everyone the exemption and no one wanted to listen to me. Oh, no, you're just an idiot. No, they made a rule. I explained what the rule should do. And then they found out the rule is going to fuck them up, like I said it was gonna. And then they made an exemption for it. And then they made it for a year. And I thought the fucking thing was done after a year. The same exemption is still going on, and it's 2025. They're literally extension of relief. Listen to me. Extension of relief. Which means they're saying, if we don't give you guys this extension, everything will collapse. We're giving it to you out of relief. We're giving it to you because you can't handle it. And if you can't handle it, it's a worldwide problem. Oh, you mean the Credit Suisse, the AMC, the GameStop, all that shit still fucking hidden away over there is going to collapse everything if you have to report it? Oh, who would have thought? Every ape in the world? Oh my god. I can't wait. I'll be up soon. I'm almost done. We'll go. I'm almost done. So just so you guys see, I'll be there in a second, baby. Extension of relief concerning swap recording requirements, part 45 and 46. Those are the exact fucking swaps we want. No, we're just going to keep on pushing it off. And this is applicable to non-U.S. swap dealers. You mean Credit Suisse? So, in other words, we're going to have to report the Credit Suisse swaps that UBS doesn't want to report because they would go under, and we don't want to kill UBS because if we kill UBS, it collapses their entire financial system because that's their number one bank. That would be like JP Morgan collapsing in the United States. It would fuck up everyone. It would destroy everything. That's why I keep telling everyone to go after criminal JP Morgan Chase. If UBS goes under, if they have to report these swaps, so they keep on fucking extending them. This is why, right here, physical proof, everything. This is why Phase 6 never worked. Everyone who wants to know why. Because what would have worked, they just fucking exempted. I've never seen it in my life. Well, I have, because this entire system's cheaters, but this is it right here. Why didn't it work? Meanwhile, at the same time, margin debt now for these guys. I want you to listen. Margin debt now for these guys has reached an all-time high. Margin debt now is higher than it was when we had our break. I want everyone to listen to me. Margin debt for these companies is higher than it was. Look at right when we exploded. This is like a teapot. Everyone waiting for a squeeze. It's like a teapot. Your teapot's now fuller than it was the first time GameStop exploded. AMC exploded. They have been shorting it for the last 4 fucking years doing the same stuff. They didn't learn their lesson. They just moved more offshore. And the second that they would have to report it offshore, they just extended again. But guess what? I told you one thing. Debt obligations never go away. I don't care what anyone says. Rich people always want their money. So they keep track. And guess what? They've kept track and now you're at an all-time high. Debt obligations are higher than they were when we had our meme stock craze. Margins are higher than they were when we had our meme stock craze. So there's coming an explosion at some point, because I'm telling you one thing, and you need to listen and understand this. Retail investors are not moving this needle. Retail investors' margins didn't jump up $400 billion. Retail doesn't have $400 billion to put in a margin. That $400 billion came from corporations, the same ones who are shorting you. So again, that teapot, that short squeeze, all of that, like I said, eventually, in the long run, it's going to pay off. Because again, AMC is going to get back in 2026. You're already almost halfway there. You're already over halfway there. 2026, you'll be profitable. The rest of this year, you'll be cash flow positive. You're feeling good. And then by the time we get to where we need to be fundamentally, guess where this is going to be? It's going to be way higher. It's going to be the highest it's ever been. So chances of squeezes will continuously get better and better and better for us. So just, a lot of people are stuck anyways, to a point where you're down. A lot of people are down so much they're stuck. But I'm just telling you, man, there's still beyond hope. The teapot here it's boiling, man. It's shooting out the sides. It's shooting out the sides higher than it ever has before. So don't lose faith. Don't think you're still just fucked forever. Just realize crime is rampant. Crime is out there. It's out there, guys. And it's controlling it. And until it gets a little rampant or a little less rampant, a little more under control, until they can't, keep faking it just too long, it will collapse. When more people figure out what's happening, when more people start pulling out of their system, this is why I've told you guys forever, just get out of the system. Get out of the system. Get out of the banks. Get into a credit union. You have to be in a bank. Go make 2.5%. At least you're not getting, you might be making a little less. Try and get a 3%. There are some out there that do offer around 3%. You can still get into a credit union to where you're not losing money through inflation. Gold is still going to keep going up. Why is gold going to still keep going up? It's never going to have an ending. Because this won't stop. You went up $16 trillion in 1 month. Not only did you go up $16 trillion in 1 month, Donald Trump has spent $600 billion in 1 month to the national debt. He has added $600 billion to the national debt in 1 month while celebrating $150 billion more he took from you in tariffs. Gotta wake up. Gotta wake up, guys. We gotta get out of this system, because the system's meant to crush you. And then for them to come on and tell you you're fucking lazy. You are lazy because you're not working 2 jobs. Look at this. This is the last thing I want to show everybody. Estimated percentage of 30-year-olds. Listen to this. Look at this chart. Look at this. Estimated percent of 30-year-olds who are both married and homeowners. Look at this chart. Estimate percent of 30-year-olds who are both married and have a house is now down to, what, 12%? 12% of people can afford to have a girlfriend and a house. At 30. Now at 40, like I said, it's at this point where you need to be in your 30s. So like you need to be in your high 30s, high 40s now to own a house. But the problem is the whole time before that you're renting for $2,000 a month. Can you ever get to that house? Can you ever build up enough wealth doing that? So, again, the system is meant to crush you. I know it is truly disheartening to hear in its fucking reality, and it sucks. Capitalist society is the people who have money can buy politicians who can make laws. Now listen to this, because people don't understand. This is how much they don't care. Google, if you're listening and you're by a computer or whatever, just Google Social Security wage gap. Or limit, I'm sorry. Social Security wage limit. Okay? When you Google that, it's going to tell you exactly what happens here. So after you make $176,000 a year, They no longer take Social Security out of your check. I'm going to say that one more time. After you make $176,000 a year, they no longer take Social Security out of your check. You get maximum withdrawals for the rest of your life, and then you get on top of that all that other money that you kept on made in your lifetime. Why is Social Security running out? Because rich people don't continuously always pay. And then they get a max pullout, which means they get more than they put in. So again, these wage limits. Oh man, we shouldn't have to pay more and have to fund the poor people and pay for poor people. Yeah, you should. Why the fuck should we all? Why do we have to pay for rich people? Why do we have to pay for every fucking tax break from corporations ends up going to citizens? So the corporations shouldn't have to pay their share. Rich people shouldn't have to pay their share. But we should always have to pay more taxes. Now, one thing I want to show you before I left, this will be the last thing I leave you with. When we started the American Revolution, we were basically paying like 3% taxes. And it was taxes of representation with, taxes without representation. How many of you feel represented by paying your your 24% taxes? Now we went crazy over 3.5. Now you come down here and you can actually look this up. It's correct. Slaves owned by the pharaohs were required to pay him 20% of their income, crop harvest basically. So 20%, and they were slaves, considered slaves, paying 20%. The median U.S. taxpayer pays 24.8%. We also pay 7.65% FICA taxes. We also pay taxes on income. We also pay taxes on sales tax. We also pay property tax. You also pay gas tax. And you also pay many other fees. I don't think that... Yeah. And some states pay state tax. So you're paying around 40%. We now pay around 40% taxes. Our lives are worse than ever. And people say, well, we're paying for our roads to get done. It doesn't cost that much to lay a fucking piece of road. Because let me tell you something. They haven't raised those workers' wages in fucking 20 years. They're still making $20 an hour to put the tar down on the gravel. It doesn't cost them that much more. But they sure raised your fucking taxes to make that much more. Nope, it's paying for all the fucking tax breaks and all the other shit that they gave to their rich friends. Again, we pay more than the slaves did. Just remember that. But thank you guys for listening. I will be back soon because, there's a lot of shit I haven't gotten into. I'm going to be back in like 2 days. I haven't gotten into a lot of stuff. There's a lot going on. We haven't even talked about this stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on, man. So I will be back soon, but thank you guys for listening. Appreciate all you guys. Have a good day.